Okay.
To the EMS.
Hi!
Hey man, hey officer, can I talk with you? Hello officer, can I talk with you?
I'm in disbelief with how poorly. I'm in disbelief with how poor. I'm in disbelief with how poorly EA is handling this situation so far. Two responses to hashtag CFB play don't pay, and we'll talk about it. This is all because they quietly implemented microtransactions into single-player modes while removing features that were in previous games, so you might be more incentivized to spend some money. By this point, the relationship is gone. I feel like I got cheated on. I will never work with EA Sports again. Even if I'm still playing games at 69 years old, you will never see an early capture of me or a partnership with them. I am very upset with how all of this has went down. I don't like the way that they're responding, and we're going to touch on everything in this video, but at first, I do just want to say I am so proud of everyone that's used their voice, everyone in this community, because for the very first time, EA has shown that they are willing to cave. It was the smallest little bit possible, but if we keep using our voice, I think we can get this game in the right direction. The reason I am taking as strong of a stance as I am as well is because this is a very pivotal moment for us gamers in the experiences that we want to see in the future. Before we cover and talk about how EA's responded so far, though, I do want to mention this Mike Straw article because he came out yesterday and wrote a really interesting piece about all of what's happening and maybe why it is going in that direction and why we should be worried as gamers even outside college football 27. As you'd expect, the decision for stuff like this didn't come from the core team who was responsible for the game. So that goes back to what I was saying. Don't go after these devs. I don't believe that a lot of them would be involved in a decision like this. And he even says many guys that were working on it knew about this implementation for months. They were livid. The player response that has happened from the community was expected, and there was worry it would be the loudest it's ever been. It definitely has been the loudest. We have been very vocal. I'm very proud of everybody, but the same sources say it likely won't result in much, and EA is just waiting for things to blow over. That's why I said you can't just stop now once they give us the smallest little crumb. Another thing I found very interesting in this Mike Straw article was sources tell him EA has been looking at ways to add more monetization options to all games and franchises in its portfolio. He claims even future single-player only titles will have more monetization options implemented. So that's where I see this, and it might not be just a college football 27 issue. This could be something that carries over to Madden or all the other titles that they do. In my opinion, that is what makes something like this so challenging, because we have to be able to convince EA that this entire pathway that they're most likely wanting to move towards is not the right direction, at least for specific titles like the college football one especially, where your player base, you're just not meeting the needs of your player base here. This is not something that anybody was asking for, and I just don't understand the direction, so it makes me so disappointed, even more frustrated and mad the longer that they seem to not think it's a major issue. Then they made the decision that yesterday, instead of just putting out a statement themselves, they're going to convey that messaging through creators putting it out, which I just don't like how you go about that to avoid the backlash, but we're just going to go over what was said in that and then what they said today. I mean, we're going to briefly just touch on this first one since there's more info now, but yesterday they were claiming that the coach level progression is unchanged, which is true, but faster progression was removed from online and offline Dynasty. So both of those statements are technically true, but with the progression being removed from Dynasty, it is still changing that whole landscape of coach levels. They're just saying that normal operates the same as it did in 26. Another thing in here is they have named the microtransactions. They are Coach XP accelerators. They're available only in online Dynasty, and that even makes me think if they're not in offline Dynasty, why can't you have all the fastest settings available to progress your coach, especially since normal is way too slow on the game, in my opinion. Another thing I've been seeing online is your progression is really slowed down if you sim games versus play them, which is another thing I don't agree with because you're forcing people to play the game in a specific way, and that's what we're really going to dive into on Road to Glory. EA is kind of directing players in the direction that they want them to play the game instead of that open experience that college football games have always been, like creating your own world, your own universe that you want to be a part of, that you want to control everything going on. We want more settings, we want more options, and instead they're taking them away. That has never been the direction I believe the game is going in, or what it seemed like it was going to go into. They also just briefly mentioned that XP sliders are not available in Road to Glory. They were in College Football 26. They're just not there this year, and we're going to get over to their response today because this really continues to double down on about everything that they're saying besides one thing. What it seems like they were going to do is just continue to monitor community feedback like it says on there, and then everybody that has worked with them in the past or that still works with them came out and made a statement basically about how they don't agree with this. They don't agree with the direction. So many amazing videos out there that you all can watch. It's really commendable all those guys are using their voice, but I also have to say this for another time. Do not be attacking other creators, especially if someone isn't as vocal. That's not where you should be directing your anger, and that's going to get nothing accomplished. We don't need to be beefing in the community. Direct it in the right places. We have really used our voice, but this all comes to the response EA put out themselves today, and it starts with a win. They also addressed that some of the Dynasty bugs are going to be patched that were in there, which is a good thing. I will always commend the dev team. I still like the game they put out. I want to play the game. I still want to film Hawaii, but I need to touch on this first, and I just can't work with them in any official regard. I just can't agree with anything that's gone down, especially with how this is being handled. So the one small win is I talked about the Coach XP sliders being in there to control your experience. Well, they're adding one of them back, but they're renaming it. So this is the slower of the two fast settings last year. They've renamed it to fastest, and then they have a couple of these others. These are irrelevant. I don't know if it was 2x XP or if it was 3x XP, but that's what fastest used to be. Now it's a bit slower. slower, still somewhat of the smallest win because they heard, but what it feels like is they just put a band-aid on and they're like, okay guys, that's it, shut up, we listen. But what they're doing with Road to Glory, and even in this regard where they're really trying to constrict with how your files go and the microtransactions are still in there, it's a major issue. They say after this update hits, let us know how the new settings feel. We'll be looking closely at your feedback on this one. Well, you better be looking closely because I'm not happy with it, and 95% of people are not happy with it either. What we're really not happy with though is what is happening to our Road to Glory mode. There is so little freedom there versus Dynasty even, it is insane. They are dictating your entire experience, they are crafting it perfectly how they want, and then there is just this floating option where you could purchase points. You don't have to spend your hard-earned money here, but it's just an option, and they are going to punish you if you want to change up the experience that you have. So players are rewarded more XP by playing on higher difficulty settings. That means if you are a 10-year-old kid, maybe you're 50, maybe you're just somebody that doesn't want to be locked into the game and you want to load it up on freshman or varsity, you are going to gain less XP, making it harder for your player to progress than somebody that's playing on Heisman. Now they claim depending on your starting recruit level and performance, you can generally expect to reach mid to high 90s and all this. They're trying to just say you can still get to 99, maybe only have like 4 or 5 games with it, but you could get there. Personally, I don't really know about all of that. All I did was experience my time with tight end, which I had a fun time doing. I just don't agree with any of this as a decision. I also think my experience as a tight end is invalid because I went for like 3,000 receiving yards and won the Heisman. I might have gotten to like an 85 overall doing that as a sophomore. I'm not really sure, but I was going off so much, doing well in all my practices. Of course I was going to be rewarded and be able to upgrade, and it was on Heisman. If you play on a lower difficulty, or if you turn off wear and tear, it'll reduce the XP gained once again to offset the gameplay advantage. This is the phrasing that just sets me off because this is an offline Road to Glory mode. Why the fuck are we worried about offsetting the gameplay advantage? Read between the lines. We all know what the actual reason is. We know where this is headed in the future if things don't change, if things are not reverted. It is just unbelievable to me that if you want to control your experience and play without wear and tear on, if you want to play on an easier difficulty, you are punished for it. You won't get as much XP. It'll be harder to progress your player. And in fact, I think it should be flipped. If you're playing on an easier difficulty in previous titles like on 14, I think you actually gained more XP. It was easier to upgrade your player, and it was a lot more of a fun experience. It's just like, why are we worried about offsetting gameplay advantages in an offline single player mode? To me, it seems like they're just trying to wait all this out, give us back as little as possible, not expect any outrage or disagreement with it, and each time that they give a little bit more, then everyone stops caring as much. They're like, okay, they're actually trying to do something. They're doing as little as they can. Road to Glory without the XP sliders, if you're going to get punished for turning wear and tear on or off, if you have to play on a higher difficulty to get more XP, does that not tell you the direction that this is all going in? It really feels like we're on the brink of a 2K-like optimization, that down the line that is something we could see. I mean, you already look at the builder that they have in Road to Glory this year and compare it to theirs. There are cap breakers like there is in 2K, except at least in 2K, when you get a cap breaker, you don't have to also pay to buy the stat. Another huge difference is Road to Glory is offline. Is that not clear enough? Road to Glory is an offline experience. It's not even like an online Dynasty. There is no option to be online with Road to Glory, and we still have microtransactions. We're still limiting the player experience. It just baffles me. I don't understand. There's just nothing that I've seen even behind the scenes the last 2 years that would make me think they would take a step in a direction like this. It's why it's caught me so off guard. It's why I say it feels like I'm going through a breakup, because I just got like a complete 180 done on me. Now I also have to give some credit to the community. There have been some very funny things that have come out of this, but it's not a funny situation. It's really upsetting for us not to feel like our voices are being heard, that they're just going to do as little as they can and hope that we shut up or the voices get drained out. What I've realized through this is that is why I can just never partner with EA Sports again. If I'm going to have a prominent voice in the college football community, there will still be friends of mine that are going to be able to do stuff with them. They can still get voices heard, but there also needs to be somebody on the outside that nobody would ever question, wouldn't just speak their mind on things. Don't get me wrong, you can still be in the EA Creator Network and speak your mind on so many different things. You have to really cross a line for them just to decide not to work with you. But I feel so betrayed with how all of this went down. I just can't ever go back to doing that. It has literally hit me like a breakup. That's why I said it in the intro. There's been one girl that has done me worse, but the rest of them haven't felt as painful as this has. I genuinely just cannot believe how all of this went down. I needed to know this was in the game if I was going to be playing it. There's no way that I could hear about all the new features and everything coming besides this. I strongly doubt they will, but EA could literally be perfect from here on out, and the trust is broken forever. I will never work with them again. I would feel kind of offended in previous years when people would say that I was a shill, would say that I was neutralized, that I wouldn't speak out enough. I was enjoying the games. I was having fun. I'm still having fun with 27, which is why I want to get back to filming. But I am starting to understand why, as well, it's important to just be completely separate. Even if they reverted all the changes and listened to the community, I would be very happy for that. But I still want to stay on the outside. There's also probably the question of, are you just not going to play the game at all? And I think I've already referred to it a couple times in this video, but I'm still going to play College Football 27. I've never had an issue with the actual game itself. I have an issue with the direction that it is headed in. It's not like I want to punish you all, either my viewers, by just never giving you content again. You're expecting it. You've gotten used to watching it. And just because EA sucks at making this game now, just because I don't like the direction it's going, I'm still going to give you something to enjoy. I'll also be teaching you how to be successful in the game as well and still find ways to have fun without using microtransactions or buying all their additional bonuses and stuff. The hashtag was always college football play, don't pay. And what that means is don't pay. Do not use any of these microtransactions in Dynasty and Road to Glory. That's another way I feel like we can be heard. If nobody is using those features, then they won't continue to double down, to triple down, to add more microtransactions to those single player modes. But if a lot of people are using them, they're just going to see the money and keep heading in that direction. It's not like Ultimate Team. It's not the same community that Ultimate Team reaches, where there are these whales that will just spend unlimited money. It doesn't really make sense to even have microtransactions, especially in the way that they're implemented in Dynasty and Road to Glory. I think the last thing I want to say is just continue to keep using your voice into the people at EA. Listen to your community. Your community is more important than the little bits of extra money that you think you're going to get, because people buy this game for Dynasty and Road to Glory. They don't buy it to also buy microtransactions in the modes. Don't make the grind harder and replace that grind with more microtransactions. That's what it felt like this whole direction was going in towards me, and that's why I've taken the stance I have, and I continue to take it over and over.
नमस्कार, वेलकम टू करियर 247 में प्रशांत धवन। पूरी दुनिया का मीडिया आज के समय एक न्यूज़ को कवर कर रहा है। एक ऐसे टाइम में जब डोनाल्ड ट्रंप पे खतरा मंडरा रहा है। ट्रंप खुद कह रहे हैं कि मैं टारगेट नंबर 1 हूं, मुझे मार दिया जा सकता है। अचानक से न्यूज़ आती है कि लिंडजी ग्रैहम, डोनाल्ड ट्रंप के परहैप्स सबसे करीबी एलाई, इनके मित्र जो हमेशा ट्रंप को सपोर्ट करते थे, अचानक से मैं कहूंगा मिस्टीरियस तरीके से इनकी मौत हो जाती है। कुछ ही दिन पहले ये ट्वीट कर रहे थे, इनके इंटरव्यूज आ रहे थे, आपको याद होगा लिंडजी ग्रैहम ये भारत के अगेंस्ट जो टैरिफ लगाए गए थे उसके बहुत बड़े समर्थक थे। ये चाहते थे भारत पे 500% टैरिफ लगाया जाए और भारत पे दुनिया भर का और प्रेशर डाला जाए ताकि रशिया और ज्यादा कमजोर हो जाए। मुझे याद है लिटरली कल परसों ही इनका एक इंटरव्यू आ रहा था जहां पे उन्होंने ये कहा था कि यूरोप और यूएसए दोनों को भारत पे प्रेशर डालना होगा अगर रशिया को रोकना है। अब अचानक से हम देखते हैं सडनली एक ही दिन में इनको कोई सडन इलनेस हो जाती है जिसके बारे में कोई कुछ बात नहीं कर रहा कि बीमारी कैसे हुई, क्यों हुई, अचानक से ये 71 की एज में मर जाते हैं। दिस इज वेरी वियर्ड। और लिंडजी ग्रैहम मैं आपको बता दूं, एक तरफ भारत के काफी बड़े आलोचक थे, बट एट द सेम टाइम ये इजराइल के सबसे बड़े सपोर्टर थे। अगर मैं कहूंगा यूएस पार्लियामेंट में इजराइल के पक्ष में सबसे ज्यादा बोलने वाला कोई आदमी था तो वो लिंडजी ग्रैहम थे। अचानक से इनका मर जाना एक ऐसे टाइम में जब ट्रंप की सिक्योरिटी ऑलरेडी काफी हद तक क्वेश्चन में है, जेन्युइनली क्वेश्चन रेज करता है कि आखिर हुआ यहाँ पर क्या है। क्या जेन्युइनली लिंडजी ग्रैहम को कोई नेचुरल इलनेस हो गई थी, सडनली एक दिन में इनकी मौत हो जाती है? क्योंकि ये लोग ये भी बता रहे कि क्या स्ट्रोक आया, उनको हार्ट अटैक आया, हुआ क्या, अचानक से किसी का मर जाना बहुत अजीब है। कुछ दिन पहले लिंडजी ग्रैहम ने क्या कहा था ये मैं आपको दिखाना चाहता हूं।
You said this week, quote, "We've tried the red carpet approach, it ain't working. Is it time for President Trump to directly punish Putin?" Now, it is time for Europe to get behind President Trump to punish Putin's customers. Putin has been sanctioned, literally his economy has been sanctioned every way it can be sanctioned. President Trump approaches go after China and India. President Trump put a 25% tariff on every Indian product coming into America because they buy cheap Russian oil. He is now going after China. He posted yesterday to our European allies, mostly NATO allies, that he expects them to follow his lead by imposing tariffs on China for 50 to 100%, up to 100% on products coming into Europe. It is now time for Europe to get behind the Trump approach. The Europeans say they love the Graham bill. Graham Blumenthal bill is 85 co-sponsors in the Senate that will allow President Trump to tariff people who buy cheap Russian oil and for their benefit, like China, India, and Brazil. It is now time for the Europeans to follow President Trump's lead and go after China and India.
ये बार-बार कह रहे थे कि यूरोप को चाइना और भारत के अगेंस्ट बड़े कदम लेने होंगे तभी व्लादिमीर पुतिन रुकेंगे। अचानक से इनका मर जाना मैं कहूंगा यूएस की फॉरेन पॉलिसी को भी इंपैक्ट करेगा क्योंकि ये अकेले ऐसे बिल प्रस्तुत कर देते थे यूएस पार्लियामेंट में और इनके पीछे सपोर्टर भी बहुत सारे थे। एक ऐसा बिल जहां पे लिखा होता था कि बस 500% टैरिफ लगा दो किसी भी देश पर जिसने थोड़ा सा भी रशियन ऑयल परचेज किया है। तो इनका सडनली मर जाना बहुत इंपैक्टफुल है। मुझे याद है कुछ दिन पहले लिंडजी ग्राहम ये तक कह रहे थे कि इजराइल को ऐसे वेपन्स दे दो जिससे इजराइल न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब ड्रॉप कर पाए ईरान पर। लिटरली ये इनकी स्टेटमेंट थी। इस वीडियो में ये कहेंगे कि वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के अंत में यूएसए ने हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी पर न्यूक्लियर बॉम्बिंग करी थी, एटॉमिक बॉम्ब गिरा दिए थे। ये कहते हैं कि ये यूएसए का सही मूव था। ये इनकी स्टेटमेंट है। उसके बाद ये कहते हैं कि हमको सेम टाइप का काम करना होगा इजराइल और ईरान के केस में। इजराइल को ऐसे बॉम्ब्स देने होंगे जिससे वो खुद को बचा पाए।
We decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose and work with them to minimize casualties. So can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
वाओ, आप इमेजिन कर सकते हैं कि ये इजराइल के कितने बड़े सपोर्टर थे। आई मीन लिटरली ये अमेरिकन टेलीविजन पे जाकर कहते थे कि अगर अमेरिका खुद को बचाने के लिए वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 में अमेरिका खुद को को डिफेंड करने के लिए हिरोशिमा नागासाकी पर न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब गिरा सकता है तो इजराइल ऐसा क्यों नहीं कर सकता खुद को बचाने के लिए? क्योंकि इजराइल दुनिया में अकेली ज्यूइश स्टेट है तो खुद को बचाने के लिए इजराइल भी तो कुछ न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब ड्रॉप कर सकता है। तो अगेन आप इनकी कई स्टेटमेंट्स पढ़ोगे जो ये बिल प्रस्तुत करते थे इजराइल के सपोर्ट में, वो पढ़ोगे, मैं कहूंगा इनका अचानक से मर जाना यूएस फॉरेन पॉलिसी और ग्लोबल जियोपॉलिटिक्स को बहुत बड़े स्केल पर इंपैक्ट करता है। इनके मरने से देखिए, अब खुश तो नहीं कहूंगा मैं वर्ड, किसी के मरने पे खुश क्या बोले, मगर कई देश है जो राहत महसूस कर रहे होंगे इनके जाने के बाद। रशिया फॉर एग्जांपल, रशिया बहुत ही ज्यादा इस वक्त रिलीव होगा कि लिंडजी ग्राहम नहीं रहे क्योंकि रशिया के ये पीछे पड़े हुए थे कि रशिया पर सैंक्शन लगाओ, रशिया पे और प्रतिबंध लगाओ। डोनाल्ड ट्रंप को ये काफी प्रेस करते थे कि और रशिया के अगेंस्ट काम करो। फिर उसके अलावा अगर देखो तो भारत के केस में मैं ये नहीं कहूंगा कि हमें कुछ ज्यादा इंपैक्ट पड़ता है क्योंकि इंडिया पे जो टैरिफ लगाए थे वो यूएस के सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ऑलरेडी रूल आउट कर दिए हैं और इंडिया यूएस रिलेशंस में अब टैरिफ्स मतलब उस लेवल पे उतने बचे नहीं है जितने टाइम पर थे। और आई बिलीव बहुत ही जल्द इंडिया यूएस के बीच में एक ट्रेड पैक्ट भी हो जाएगा। और मोस्ट रिसेंटली मुझे याद है कि लिंडजी ग्राहम ने पाकिस्तान की भी आलोचना करनी स्टार्ट कर दी थी ये बोलकर कि पाकिस्तान को मीडिएटर बना के तो हमने गलती कर दी, ये मीडिएटर का काम अच्छे से नहीं निभा रहे। तो इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव से अगर मैं देखूं तो हम लोग काफी इंडिफरेंट है, ना कुछ फर्क पड़ता है ना कुछ इट्स काइंड ऑफ वियर्ड क्योंकि इनकी जो लेगेसी है अगर मैं देखूं इनको याद रखा जाएगा। ईरान ने हेवी बॉम्बिंग करवाने के लिए, मिडिल ईस्ट के कई देशों पे बॉम्बिंग करवाने के लिए, हमेशा वॉर के लिए उतावले रहते थे। कई लोगों की जाने गई है इनकी पॉलिसीज की वजह से। अब उसके बारे में आप क्या बोल सकते हैं? तो मैं ये कहूंगा एज एन इंडियन मैं काफी इंडिफरेंट हूं, बट चाइना काफी रिलीव होगा कि ये अब नहीं रहे। ईरान बहुत खुश होगा। ईरान तो लिटरली मैं कहूंगा ईरान एक्चुअली मैं आपको दिखाता हूं दिस इज फनी। ईरान का स्टेट मीडिया लिटरली एक वीडियो पब्लिश कर रहा था जहां पर ये लोग कह रहे हैं कि लिंडजी ग्राहम मर चुके हैं। और अगर ये ईरानियन न्यूज आउटलेट्स के शब्द है, ऑब्वियसली मैं ऐसे शब्द किसी के लिए यूज नहीं करूंगा, मगर ईरानियन न्यूज एंकर्स कह रहे थे कि सीधा ये नर्क में चले गए लिंडजी ग्राहम। उनका ये कहना बनता है क्योंकि लिंडजी ग्राहम लिटरली चाहते थे कि इजराइल न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब गिरा दे ईरान पर। ये इधर यहां पे आप लोग देख पाओगे।
بینندگان همشهر شاکر خبر سلام وقتتون بخیر. لیستی گراهام سناتور ضد ایرانی به درک واسه شد. سناتور گراهام
मैं आपको ये दिखाना चाहता हूं कि फारसी में जो ये न्यूज पढ़ रहे हैं इनके चेहरे पे जो स्माइल है वो देखिए। न्यूज एंकर कितना खुश होकर बता रहे हैं कि लिंडजी ग्राहम मर चुके हैं। इनके जो एग्जैक्ट वर्ड्स हैं ये हैं कि लिंडजी ग्राहम एंटी ईरानियन यूएस सेनेटर ये नर्क में चले गए हैं। आगे ये भी ऐड करते हैं इनके न्यूज एंकर कि ये न्यूज इतनी अच्छी है ईरान के लिए कि एक बार फिर से पढ़ना चाहते हो। लिटरली इन्होंने ये न्यूज 2 बार पढ़ी है। मैंने कई ईरान के न्यूज आउटलेट्स देखे हैं, इन लोगों ने सेलिब्रेशन में न्यूज 2 बार पढ़ी ऑलमोस्ट एज इफ जो ईरान की ऑडियंस है वो कह रही है वंस मोर। तो अगेन इससे आप सोच सकते हैं कि ईरान कितना ज्यादा रिलीव्ड महसूस कर रहा है कि उनका एक बहुत ही बड़ा दुश्मन यूएसए में ये मर चुका है। एक बात को आप कह सकते हैं सर, हमने देखा है कि कई आर्टिकल्स में लिखी हुई है बात कि लिंडजी ग्राहम को स्ट्रोक आया है, स्ट्रोक से मर गए अचानक से। अगेन ये कंफर्म नहीं है बात अभी के लिए और इतना जल्दी कोई आदमी ऐसे मर जाए इट्स रियली वियर्ड, वेरी वियर्ड। सडनली इनकी यहाँ पर मौत हुई है। अगेन इसके पीछे क्या था हमें पता नहीं है, बट हमको ये जरूर पता है कि बड़ी ताकतें ईरान, रशिया, चाइना ये तीनों चाहते थे कि लिंडजी ग्राहम जिंदा ना रहे। उसके पीछे इनके पास आज के समय क्या तरीके हैं किसी को एलिमिनेट करने के, वी डोंट नो, वी जस्ट डू नॉट नो। आई बिलीव धीरे धीरे इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड और जैसे न्यूज़ सामने आएगी वी विल गेट टू नो मोर अबाउट इट। बट अभी के लिए ये देखना होगा कि लिंडजी ग्राहम के जाने के बाद क्या डोनाल्ड ट्रंप अपना कुछ जो स्टांस है ये चेंज करते हैं या फिर ट्रंप अपने जो स्टांस है उस पर बने रहते हैं।
आज एक प्रैक्टिकल लाइव असली का धंधा खोल दिया, असली की चाय की दुकान खोल दिया तुमको अकाउंट पढ़ाने के लिए। असली के लोग होंगे, असली की चाय बनेगी, असली का माल आएगा, असली का कैश फ्लो होगा, डेटर्स क्रेडिट एसेट लायबिलिटी सब कुछ असली होगा। वो कौन से लोग थे जो ये कहते थे कि सिर्फ साइंस की प्रैक्टिकल तरीके से पढ़ाई जाती है? मैं तुमको इस चैनल पर प्रैक्टिकल तरीके से कॉमर्स पढ़ाऊंगा, अकाउंट पढ़ाऊंगा और तुमको अकाउंट से मोहब्बत करा दूंगा। यूट्यूब और एजुकेशन के इतिहास में आज तक तुमको कभी भी किसी ने इस तरीके से अकाउंट
Help me, help me, help me. Officer, 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 officer.
अगर आप भी 10वीं और
तो काट कर बाहेर वाला उचलला नाही. म्हणजे काय आणायचं चला मग डॉक्टरकडे पण जाऊन येऊ. चला मग डॉक्टरकडे जाऊ मग तिथून पुढे जाऊ. भूक नाही लागत अजून तब्येत खराब आहे. खोकला येतो खोकला येतो ना. चला मग उठा. थकल्यासारखं वाटतं.